Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today after a brief hiatus is Utsav Chakrabarti. We're going to be talking about a very important event that took place in the recently concluded BRICS summit. And to know all about it, let's welcome our guest. But before that, please like this video. Utsav, Namaskar, Ram Ram, Radhe Radhe. How are you?
Namaste. Good to see you, Shri. Back to be here. Happy to be back.
Thank you so much. And this is late at night for you, but you've been most accommodating to come online at such a late hour. So I won't take too long of your time. But this is a very important topic because we know some things that Turkey did to India, but we don't know all the detail. So with your permission, I have put together a slide deck that you asked me to put together. Whenever you want me to start on that, let me know. But if you want to make an opening statement, please feel free.
Yes. So, many people around the world and especially in India are probably waking up to the news, or probably yesterday night they saw the news that Turkey, led by Erdogan, was booted out in the sense that he was there visiting the BRICS summit, but it officially applied for membership of BRICS. And in BRICS, to get the membership, you need to have the support and the agreement of the original members. So India, being one of the original members, refused to allow Erdogan to join BRICS. So there's going to be a lot of analysis, a lot of news items about this. But I thought that it would be interesting to share with our audience around the world, especially in America, that one of the reasons, in my opinion, that India has been so against Turkey's role in that part of the world is because of the efforts that Turkey put in against India and the Indian diaspora, especially the Hindu American community and the Hindu community in Europe, after Article 370 was removed in Jammu and Kashmir. So I think you can start the slideshow, and we can start with an event that happened right a couple of months later, actually a year later, after the removal of Article 370, and I can give a background of how it panned out. So what you see here on the screen is an event that was organized in Sarajevo. Many of you who are familiar with the map of Europe, Sarajevo is in Bosnia, and those of you who are familiar with the Bosnian conflict would know that it is a Muslim majority region in the Balkans. And historically, it had been under the Turkish Caliphate or the Ottoman Caliphate that we all know. So it has a very, very strong Islamic influence. It fought a civil war with Serbia to disrupt the country of Yugoslavia, broke it apart. Obviously, NATO helped Bosnia to create a separate country, a Muslim majority country. So in Sarajevo, which is in Bosnia-Herzegovina, an event was organized on December 16, 2022. So it is about almost 2 years after the removal of Article 370. And in that event, pretty much anti-India, anti-Hindu Islamists of Kashmiri background were invited from all over the world, especially from Western countries. So a very familiar face at that event was Ghulam Nabi Pai, who was there and who spoke at that event. Ghulam Nabi Pai, those of you who are familiar with the Kashmir issue, is a Kashmiri pro-Hizbul Mujahideen guy who runs an organization called Kashmir Awareness Forum. He spent about 2 years in an American jail for being convicted of being an ISI agent. And so this is all happening 10 years after he got released from the jail. So he was one of the speakers at this event. And this event also involved Islamabad Policy Research Institute, which is a front of the Pakistani military intelligence agency, ISI. So this was a pro-jihadist event that was held in Sarajevo. It was an extremely high-profile event. It involved people from different parts of the world. It involved former Pakistani ambassadors. So there was a direct Pakistani participation. It involved Kashmiri, quote-unquote, scholars. Most of them are Islamists living in Western countries. They were all brought together along with extreme left, quote-unquote, human rights activists, pro-Palestinian activists, to create this entire movement and revive this movement in the West. And it was all done by Turkey, because of the influence that Turkey carries within Bosnia Herzegovina. So they wanted to do something as close to the center of Europe as possible, to make it look like it's a global tribunal. It was called the Russell Tribunal on War Crimes. And the person who runs this tribunal is actually a British guy. So it was a massive effort. It's a multi-million-dollar effort. And that really bothered us in America, because, we back then, I mean, nowadays Kashmir is a far, different place. Hopefully peace will return, but elections just happened. It's a far more democratic, far more progressing place. But back in the early part of this decade, in 2018 to 2022, those of us who were Hindu community activists in America were struggling very hard to deal with the aggressiveness with which the Islamists were targeting American Hindus, especially those belonging to the Kashmir separatist movements. There was groups like Stand with Kashmir. Obviously, Ghulam Nabi Fai and his entire gang was, targeting us. Pretty much every day there was actions going on. So we were following this very carefully, and we made a lot of effort to expose this event. So now that Turkey has been given a pretty strong punch, I must say, from India, I thought that we would bring up to people's attention all the shenanigans that have been going on over the last couple of years. So
go ahead. I've forwarded to the next slide. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was that around 2020, when India removed Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, it did it at the end of 2019, basically.
August 5th. How
yes,
can I forget?
August 5th, 2019. So when it did that, I think Pakistan was on a decline in terms of its ability to support the Kashmiri Islamists. And even though it has the infrastructure and the terrorists are in Pakistan who can do the job, it was losing out on the propaganda, on the disinformation war that it was running on Kashmir for a really long time. So I think at that point of time, Erdogan played a very key role in shoring up the anti-Hindu, anti-India narrative on Jammu and Kashmir in the West. So as part of that effort, I think this was the culmination. The Russell Tribunal on War Crimes was the culmination of that effort. But before that, around January 2020, Turkey started a group called Kashmir Civitas. It was based out of Kashmir. It claimed to have offices in Canada and Qatar, but based on what I can see, what I had seen, it was mostly a Istanbul-based initiative. So that was also the time when, myself and many local Kashmiri organizations, and you can see in the next slide, not this one, the one before that. Yes. The Kashmiri, Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora Organization, GKPD, with whom we had very good relationship, because as fellow Hindu activists, we were working together. We made a lot of effort to convince the Russell Tribunal not to do this event, especially with such a one-sided pro-Pakistani narrative. And so, we made efforts at that time. We tried to expose some of the key members of Kashmir Civitas who were sitting in Istanbul and running the agenda. And one of those guys was a person named Farhan Mujahid Chak, obviously a Kashmiri guy, very, very aggressively Islamist, also educated, moves in academic circles. So we exposed as much as we could. Obviously, the tribunal still happened, but this is sweet response, I believe, for us to see that they are not in BRICS.
So let's take a look at this organization, the World Kashmir Awareness Forum. Now, you mentioned two names, Ghulam Nabi Fai, who has spent some time in jail. What exactly did he spend the time in jail for, Utsav?
So Ghulam Nabi Fai, has been a quote-unquote Kashmiri activist in Washington, D.C. for a really long time. And, back in the 90s, when America was not so favorably disposed towards India and was pretty much...
You mean it is favorably disposed now?
It is not now either, but back in the 90s, it was far worse. Back in the 90s, there were diplomats like Robin Raphael, who were part of the administration, who would openly tell that Kashmir should not be part of India.
How can you love a country which took your husband? Robin, how could you? How could you? Your husband was the ambassador who went down with that box of mangoes.
Yes, that's a whole show, Sri. We should cover what that show one day, about how American diplomats were pretty much brainwashed by Pakistani ISI, and some of them really worked for them. So Robin Raphael and people like that were in charge in DC, and so Ghulam Nabi Pai was the big guy on Kashmir in the 90s. He would openly do things against India and, of course, against the American Hindu community, openly abuse them. There would be people from JNU, a lot of leftist professors, including Arundhati Roy, I believe, at some point, who interacted.
Correction. Arundhati Suzanne Roy. Don't miss that middle name.
Correct. And Angana Chatterjee, another person who took money from Ghulam Nabi Pai. Whole list of JNU professors did, actually. Dilip Patgaonkar, one of the famous journalists in India, was also taking money from Ghulam Nabi Pai. So Pai did all the things he did pretty much openly, with the Pakistani government's help in Washington DC. It was when I was fresh out of college back in 2003, I was trying to do an exhibition on Jammu and Kashmir, history of Jammu and Kashmir, at the Capitol Hill. And I remember, like, my exhibition entire cost was like $10,000, and I had a hard time getting those $10,000, $15,000. And then Ghulam Nabi Pai did a event right a week after that, and he did $100,000 event right after our event. So it was a struggle back in those days, but eventually people's luck ran out, and Pakistan eventually started falling foul with the Americans and the American government, and they reached a point in 2007, 2008 when Pakistanis were really targeting American assets in Pakistan. So I believe that at some point America realized that they should also pull the plug on Ghulam Nabi Pai. So they arrested him. He faced a trial and spent a couple of years in jail, and then again got out of jail. Now, many people believe that he had too much dirt on people, so they just wanted to give him a less sentence and let it, because he was in touch with many members of Congress, many senators. A lot of things happened back then. So now he's back again, and he runs this organization called World Kashmir Awareness Forum. The Kashmiri Islamist movement eventually started, weathering out of it. Now they basically have 20 people, all the same people who used to do the same things 10 years ago. They still do protests and all. In fact, Farhan Mujahid Chak, the whole Kashmir Civitas Istanbul guy who ran this agenda all these years in the Middle East, is now in Washington, DC too. So, if we are going through the next circle, who knows? Maybe the next Robin Raphael will again embrace Ghulam Nabi Pai, and maybe Farhan Mujahid Chak will be the next Ghulam Nabi Pai.
Is she still active, Robin Raphael?
I have seen her in think tanks in DC. At least a year ago, I have seen her in think tanks.
How many lovers of Bharat do we have here? You have her, you have Audrey Trushki, you have Samantha Power, and then you have that other girl. I actually had her on my channel once. Very condescending, if I might say that. Christine Fair. Always tries to flaunt her PhD from Yale. He is useful for nothing. She doesn't have the gravitas to come back to. I gave her the chance when I said something about. Anyway, she doesn't have the gravitas to come back and rebut somebody else's observations about her. Let it go. So the point I'm trying to make is, you're going to say something about Christine Fair. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I have crossed. I've been in the same events with Christine Fair a few times, and I do like her book on the ISI and the Pakistani army's shenanigans, because she does have an insight. She was in Pakistan for a really long time. She learned Urdu and a little bit of Punjabi. So she does have a good insight on the Pakistan.
She actually swore in Punjabi on my channel on that.
Oh, she loves to.
Very colorful personality, by the way.
Yeah. She loves to swear in Punjabi. She loves to swear in Urdu. She flaunts that a lot. She likes to show that she knows the language well. But I won't. I would reserve any further comments on her.
Yeah. By the way, she watches all our programs, so she might come and tell you a thing or two. But Christine, the floor is open. If you still want to rebut Abhijit Iyer Mitra, I'll give you that floor here. You can come and talk about what he said. If you want to rebut, do rebut with facts. Anyway, let's move on now. Closing. See what is missing here. I think our viewers know this, but I'm just going to get these words out of your mouth. How many organizations are lobbying for India in Washington D.C.?
I don't think there are that many organizations lobbying for India in Washington D.C. Um, See, the thing is that the organizations like Hindu Action, and there are many organizations like us, we speak up for the American Hindu community, the people who are in America. We speak for the diaspora. And part of the reason we spoke up on this issue, and it's good to watch that Erdogan doesn't get to go into BRICS, because there was a time back in the early 20s that these people were all over the place, and they were not just harassing India. I mean, India can deal with what India faces. They are dealing with it, but they were harassing Americans. They were harassing American Hindus, and they would literally go on and on and on every day, targeting the American Hindu community, because we spoke up in support of the Kashmiri Pandit. There is a big Kashmiri diaspora here, Kashmiri Hindu diaspora here, and they would harass the hell out of them. So when we spoke up for them, we decided to expose these guys as much as we could, and I think it does make a difference. I think the fact that the Kashmiri community spoke up, the Kashmiri Hindu community spoke up, it was visible to people around the world what was going on, and I think it's bringing out an effect. Back to you, Shri. I see
Sorry,
a lot of yeah.
Yeah. I was just putting some observations, and here is a question from Rajesh K. Why isn't Bharat doing enough or not doing enough to counter the Pakistan and Turkey and other Kashmiri pro-Muslim nations agenda? What's stopping our government to take strong action against these anti-nationals?
Well, I would say that the response that India gave to Turkey, the fact that Turkey got hit at a moment in a multilateral forum where it would otherwise would have made it through, because Turkey has decent relations with Russia. It's a hot blow, cold relation. Turkey has built good relations with China. Turkey has good relations with Iran. Or, I mean, it's again a blow, cold relation. But see, China and Russia would not have opposed Turkey's entrance into the BRICS. The fact that India played a role in trying to push Turkey out and kept it out shows that India did have a good foreign policy. I mean, you build gravitas. This is where you show your gravitas. You don't have to show it every day. When the time comes, you show your gravitas. So I think that was, I would say, looking from Washington D.C., this is good foreign policy posture from India.
So your 2 cents on BRICS. What do you think happened? And viewers, tonight at 9:30 p.m., Professor M.D. Nalapat is going to wrap up what happened at BRICS and what lies ahead for us. So do join us for that at 9:30 p.m. Now, 2 words from you, not 2 words. You can take a few sentences. Utsav, what do you see the outcome, especially from an American point of view?
See, there is no doubt that the BRICS engagement over the last 2 days has been a success. No matter what people will say around the world, I mean, obviously the Western world will have a very different opinion and will try to find flaws in what happened there. But the general consensus, even amongst American observers who are sincere observers of the situation, they all would agree that the BRICS is here to stay. It is now probably the most powerful multilateral forum in the world. This is a unique moment in the world's history, at least in the last 200 years, when a non-European, non-Western power bloc has taken the center stage in the global space. It is very unique. It has never happened in the last 200 years, or even before that. I would say last 400 years, since post-industrial age. So this is unique, and I think that there are going to be tensions amongst the actors in BRICS. India and China will obviously be at loggerheads. There is no other option. That is the nature of the relationship that has emerged over the last 60-70 years between the two countries. That's not going to go away. But the fact that they, at least China, has decided to be more mature in dealing with the situation shows better heads are prevailing. Russia obviously has gained a lot from the BRICS summit, because Russia was facing an economic collapse if they could not put this through. So they were in the most dire situation amongst all these countries because of the war in Ukraine, and they came out. At least so far, they have come out pretty much on top. So my opinion is that this was a success. People here in Washington, people in London, people in Western Europe will not be liking what is happening. They may respond to it in their own way, but the goal here should be that everybody should be mature. Everybody should. We need to learn to accept that the world is moving towards multipolarity, and I think there are mature people in America who are accepting that, who are agreeing to that, and they will figure out a way to deal with it.
One thing that I want to leave our viewers with is, any prime minister that takes on panga with India eventually loses his or her job. You saw that happen with Mahathir Mohamad, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad in Malaysia, and now Justin Trudeau is going, gone. Thank you so much, Utsav. And
So
viewers,
just want to say we should bring a term for it. We should call it the Modi curse. If you are a global leader and you take on Narendra Modi, you will not be making it through your next election.
Thank you so much, Utsav. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Namaste.